How's it going, guys? It's Rickster back with Chord. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make those classic electro house big chord stacks. I'm going to be using my Disco Rangers remake to kind of showcase how I would go about doing this. I think the way Skrillex does it in the song is quite cool. So if we go to the chord stacks, we have a couple layers going on. First is we have this big kind of reasing bass kind of thing going on. There's two layers here. One's this kind of crunchy, mono, crisp layer. And then there's another layer that is a very blown out, distorted, mids heavy, fuzzy kind of layer. That's also having this raw modulation really poke through. Both of them have it, but you know, it adds together to create this very interesting, cool moving texture in the low end that keeps the energy in the track very high. Because if you just sometimes sustaining like a single bass note can feel kind of bland, in my opinion. And so essentially what's happening in just both of these massive presets is just some like basic wavetable. There's a saw. There's some unison going on, some noise. There's a modern talking. I'm modulating the amp on all of these, wavetable on a couple of these. Already you have like a cool tone there, just straight coming out of massive. But I'm going to use a scream filter, a band reject to add this kind of extra filtery movement. You know, you're cutting a lot of the high end, but we're going to bring it back with some distortion now, like a sine shaper, a hard clipper, the Bronner tube. The patches look complicated, but it's really just this basic process of taking a harsh sound, cutting frequencies from it, and then reintroducing those frequencies back in with distortion and OTT and stuff like that. And that's how you can get these really cool textural kind of bass sounds, you know? So then I'm gonna EQ it, cut back some of on the mids with some notches. I use an homicide to really just destroy the sound. Like that low end is like, oh my God, you know, I'm just a lot of distortion. I love homicide, by the way. Great distortion. Sad to see them not supporting it anymore because it's a legacy plugin, but that means it's free now. Ohmforce, great company. I can't believe they put their old plugins out for free now. It's just an OTT, some more EQ, a saturator, and then one final EQ to kind of roll off the low end, because I'm getting a lot of this like fuzz and rumble of the sound from the fact that I'm distorting the low end so much inside of homicide. So, and then I want to just keep the fuzz mainly in the stuff that's happening in the mids. So I just kind of roll that off, whatnot. And then for the second layer, it's the same patch, but it doesn't have any unison. So it's much cleaner, you know, and I don't really distort it that much. So when you layer them together, you have a really nice stable low end and crispy high end, very sharp, but it's also, you got this really fuzzy and like fat, juicy mids, you know? And it's just OTT to really kind of smash them together and make them like each other. And then just some basic EQ, a limiter to like really push it into 0 dB. And then there is a utility just for no reason. So then the actual layers of the synth chords, we have a super saw from Silent. At the time, I was throwing OTT on a lot of my super saws when I did this remake. So it doesn't sound, now I definitely would probably back off this, but I think it works here. It's just the LD follow preset. I turn the internal chorus on to add a little extra kind of texture and niceness to it. I like making more basic super saw patches, like with like not too many voices. This one does because it's a stock Silent preset, but I think you can get some really nice tones out of a synth if you don't do a ton of unison and instead you use a couple stacks of choruses. Like I used the internal chorus and then I used a post legacy Ableton chorus to really brighten up the kind of texture of this synth patch. And then there's just some EQ to roll off the low end and some reverb. And then last on this chord stack is quite fun layer. There's a till 8 preset, another stock Silent preset. I think I modified it by changing this to like the tri-saw waveform, and then this oscillator to a pulse, but nothing much else, just to kind of make it stand out from the other supersaw. And then I'm just using the preset ARP 1985 DAV and Len 2 to add an extra kind of texture to it. OTT to sum them together. Again, more chorus, EQ, reverb. And what happens now is when you layer this ARP with it, with the supersaw, this is pretty quiet in the mix. You can't really fully hear it because of how loud the supersaw is, but there's enough subtle detail that comes from adding the ARP, in my opinion. You could probably push it forward, and there's enough, I think, kind of that's added from this actual ARP that I don't feel like I hear it enough in electronic chord stacks, and so I figured I'd mention it. So yeah, that's how I'd go about doing these like big chord stacks. And you put a cool little saw lead over it, and you get the. Yeah, very fun.